The Princess Teaching Institute came out of some summer schools that were run for English and history teachers by other English and history teachers that started in 2002, founded by the Prince of Wales, who felt that there was something lacking potentially in the world of teachers' professional development. And when he got those English and history teachers together in the summer schools originally, what became clear was that there was a great lack of the opportunity to refresh the actual subject knowledge of teachers. So after you've done your PGCE teacher training, then chances are that you're not going to have very many opportunities to actually go back to your subject. Yes, lots of things in terms of teacher techniques, if you like, special educational needs, use of IT in the classroom, what have you, but the actual subject knowledge, the actual passion for the subject itself is something which didn't seem to be being refreshed by anything in the system. So the Princess Teaching Institute really as an organisation grew out of that. So it's by teachers for teachers. Witness Today, which is being organised by Thomas Hardy School, that's a wonderful inspirational day, and where there's an emphasis not on the teaching techniques of the classroom, where there's an emphasis on the actual subject matter. In this case, biodiversity.
Oh, there are lots of things I'm hoping people are going to take away. One will be an appreciation of the kinds of activities that you can do out on the ocean or in the sea using a vessel such as this. So it's important that you've been and experienced it, then it makes sense when you read about it, and it helps them to communicate something. Then if they're teaching something, they will have a bit more insight and passion. I think also that we're hoping that there will be different ideas that people have that we'll discuss together. So I'm hopeful that there'll be ideas come up from the floor, if you like, and we can compare ways that we would teach and do something more creative with, rather than just the mainstream perhaps science that you would expect it to be able to do from today. And I think also that the fact that there ought to be some up-to-date science, so teachers are going to find that they've learnt something new, that even if they were a marine biologist to begin with, that there'll be some updates about really exciting finds, discoveries and technologies that they'll be new for them as well.
Just wondering whether you'd be able to tell me a little bit about how you might use this experience back at school.
Well, I was thinking to start off with using the information that we got from when we put the salinity rods in the water, using that to draw graphs and using it to teach density and all of that sort of a more interesting way, and looking at food chains, phytoplankton, photosynthesis. You could bring all of that in just by doing the one thing.
Well, fundamentally, we'll look for any excuse to get out of the classroom, to leap out of the syllabus and bring anything that's relevant, no matter how tenuous, back into the classroom, or even better than that, bring them out into the field. Because one of the things that you learn as a teacher when pupils sort of come back to sort of the school or start talking to you about their experiences, they will always recount the time where they went on the boat to the farm to Badbury Rings or whatever, and they'll say, that bit was really good fun.
Well, certainly I'm about to teach some biology, and I've got to talk about food chains, and it's quite interesting, some of the information we've got. We've taken lots of footage today, so I'm going to use some of that and be able to show my students. We obviously aren't near a coastal area, so that's great to be able to take something that I've seen and bring it straight into the classroom.
I think the main thing is knowing that this whole thing is here, so bringing the ability to bring some students down.
I'm very interested in the animals that they've caught, probably showing them some pictures, using that to construct food chains, food webs, looking at that sort of thing.
As a subject, it just shouldn't be dry. It's so interactive, there's so many ways that the students could be involved, and just by seeing how the marine biologists here are doing that, by just talking about all the different samples we've just picked up from the dredging, or looking at the water penetration. It's much more interactive than what we currently do, and they're the ideas that I'm hoping I can take back.
And I don't know if this would work, so I'm going out on a limb here saying if we could make our own little salinity sensor using carbon rods to try to see if they can actually test different concentrations of salt solution using carbon rods and conductivity, just to see. I don't know if that'll work. I'll have to speak to my technicians about that and ask them if we could do that. But that could be a fun way to get them to make something and then to test something and then to get results, draw graphs, come to conclusions, things like that.
We've brought students before who've been doing active studies, so what we've actually taken back to the classroom is one of the most important things that you could collect is actually data, and therefore we've come here and our students have made recordings in the way that we're doing today, and that information has gone back and gone into PowerPoint presentations that they've been using for projects that they've been doing. And I think it's given me much more insight into thinking about the way in which technology has always limited our understanding of the environment. And that the Secchi disc that we just looked at, which is a couple of 100 years old as an invention, we're using that alongside brand new data logging, computerized gizmos and microscopes and all sorts. We're using technologies as tools to investigate and understand and discover.
So we have schools come from Bristol, we have schools come from Gloucester, Chelmsford, Southend, so really across the whole of the south of England. What a lot of those schools will do is actually bring a large party, so they'll bring something like 50 students. We'll take half of them out on the boat in the morning while the other half stay at the Oceanography Centre, and they may have a tour or a lecture or a lab session, and then we swap over after lunch. Most of them are incredibly enthusiastic. They really sort of get into it. We have noticed that, often, for example, teenage boys are too cool to be interested, but once you show up a big tray full of living creatures and put a spider crab in their hands, they're just inspired by it, I think, really. So definitely has the wow factor. We've had people that have come on board that obviously aren't the most academically gifted, but they chat to the likes of Bill and myself, and they think, maybe there's still a role for me in science, because there's everybody from engineers on board, crewmen, boat drivers. Not everyone's going to be a scientist, but there's still potential for employment and enjoyment, hopefully, as well.
What's ideal is when we're able to bring together an exciting place or idea and marry academic rigour with that. So, for example, today here we are out on a boat, but then after this time on the boat we're going to be going back into the lecture room, so to speak, and hear from experts in their fields about the world of oceanographic research. And so it's precisely that rigour and challenge which is the heart of subjects, and which is what excites so many teachers to teach the subjects in school.
I think one of the points I picked up that was really cool is when we did the sampling, just the number of groups of organisms that you actually get from one sample. I mean, if you think of a back garden or something, okay, you can have one or two type groups of plant, maybe, possibly a mollusk, possibly a bird, but other than that, it's very little. And yet, one scoop out of here, there was just an enormous amount of stuff came out.
Having seen like the temperature probe, that goes straight into physics lessons, and the conductivity, that's straight into chemistry lessons. But largely for my school, a lot of the kids are really blinkered when it comes to their university choices.
I'm thinking of using some of the data, maybe making up some alternative data, so we can do a sort of statistical plot, evaluation of methods, and really try and get a guide to what they might do for any sort of potential future investigations.
At GCSE level, I'll probably use quite a few snippets from some of today's footage to talk about biodiversity. I like the comparison between the two muds at either ends of the estuary. There's a quite clear comparison there, so I think that would be nice to show. And just generally what scientists do.
This is the kind of trip that I would have loved to have done as a 17-year-old child, being fascinated with the ocean. So I'm pretty sure that if you take biology out of the classroom and put it in a real life sampling stroke ecological situation, then it definitely inspires the kids to see what it's like in the real world.
The sort of immediate thing that springs to mind is just to use the marine examples, rather than terrestrial examples. So I really particularly like the idea of the transect across the Atlantic. I think that will sort of grab the students' imaginations rather than doing daisies across the school field.
We always use examples for evolution, being Darwin's finches and then follow on with the peppered moth. And now we've actually got something which is examples which are happening right now. People are going out and researching this right now, which is bang up to date.
This morning's sampling techniques on the boat in particular are a really interesting, up-to-date, different sort of sampling technique that they wouldn't necessarily have come across before.
Well, the head sent me down, so looking maybe to set up a trip down here. Kids coming from London, especially the area of London we're from, some of them haven't even seen the ocean, so this is just a different event for them, maybe ignite their imaginations in science.
But more importantly, the ethos of the academy at the moment is that everyone is seen to be learning. So all of the teachers are taking on something new and learning new things. So it's really important for the children as well to see that I'm learning and I'm improving my own scientific knowledge. as well as them.
You can't underestimate the actual hands-on experience, I think, for actually getting the knowledge across. No matter how much they actually sort of get on the day or write down, they will have a visual sort of memory, and I think it certainly contributes to what is more and more exam orientated sort of assessment. So yeah, bring it on.